Welcome to the Breakthrough and Bloom podcast. My name is Kelsey Marks, and I am your host and your Breakthrough BFF. My mission in the world is to help women who are interested in spirituality really, truly understand who they are at the core of their being, guiding them through the process of healing themselves and really honing into what it means to be human. I intend to be an open channel to allow insights to flow in that help you break through to the next level of who you were always meant to be. With these conversations, we're going to shift some perspectives, okay? And we're gonna give you a new way to live the life that you live, allowing the opportunity to truly manifest what it is that you desire. So if you're looking to break through to the next level of who you are, to live the life of your dreams, and to gain a deeper understanding of spiritual topics, well, you have come to the right place. And I know we're going to have so much fun together, and I am beyond excited to have these conversations with you. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Hello, and welcome back to another episode here at Breakthrough and Bloom. And today I wanted to explore more into a topic that has been coming up, not so much for me, but definitely around me lately, which is the feeling of being stuck, of not knowing what steps to take, maybe, but also just this vibe of hustling to try to figure everything out or to figure something out, just kind of trying everything that you can until something sticks. This whole aspect of the grind and to just keep going and going until inspiration hits or something comes up where you're like, yes, this is it. Like that whole vibe is something that I want to go into a little bit more this episode. And I know they're kind of two different things, but you may be experiencing them both at the same time and you aren't even realizing it, that you're feeling kind of stuck and complacent, but you're grinding and doing so much at one time, trying to just stay busy more so because of different reasons. And I think one of the main reasons that a lot of people are constantly staying busy, always doing something, feeling the need to, keep themselves busy is because they're afraid of what's going to happen if they slow down, what's going to catch up with them, what feelings are going to catch up with them, what they'll have to face if they decide to stop running from themselves. And this is something I definitely want to go into a little bit more today. I had this really great thought on the toilet this morning about it. I'm going to be honest about it. I was on the toilet this morning and had a great thought about it. So I was like, you know what, let's talk about this today. I think it's a great idea. But before we dive into this episode, I want to just take a moment to get us all relaxed, to get us all in a receptive mode, all just like decompress for just a minute. So if you're driving, again, please focus on driving and just follow along with the breaths that I'll be instructing in a minute. But if you are sitting down, if you are relaxing, go ahead and just get into a comfortable position and close your eyes. And as always, we want to start with a nice deep belly breath in and exhale it all out. I always do vocal exhales. I'm just gonna put that out there. And I think that you should as well, because it's such a good way of just like cleansing and really letting it out. And I don't think enough of us really breathe out the gunk that's stuck within us. So anyways, sorry, let's get back to the breath. Now go ahead and bring your shoulders up to your ears, just kind of like tighten them up and take a nice deep breath in while you do this. And exhale it all out. And when you do this, drop your shoulders down and imagine yourself pinching a pencil between your shoulder blades. Like you really want to open up the chest. You really want to bring those shoulders down away from your ears. Amazing. So let's do that again. Take another deep breath in with your shoulders up, kind of scrunching your whole neck. And big exhale down, drop the shoulders, expand that chest, open your heart center. And I love to do everything in threes, so let's do a third time. Nice deep breath in, shoulders up. And exhale out and down. Let it all go. Amazing job. So now I just want to do some conscious breathing today for just about a minute or two, really not that long. And this is something that's going to allow our parasympathetic nervous systems to kick in to get us out of that fight or flight mode, the needing to do something, the needing to grind, and allowing us to get into the rest and the restorative parasympathetic nervous system as opposed to the sympathetic nervous system. And all this is essentially is just taking a longer exhale than inhale. And this type of breath is something that you can use at any point, anywhere, if you are feeling a little bit anxious, a little bit high strung. So we'll go ahead and get started on this breath. So take a nice deep breath in for 4 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it at the top for just a second. And we're going to exhale for 8 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Amazing job. It feels good to let the big exhales out, right? So we're going to do it just a couple more times. So take a nice deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for just a moment. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, nice deep breath in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it at the top. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And one more time for good measure. Deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it at the top. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Amazing job. How do you feel? A little bit calmer, right? Maybe your shoulders aren't so tight. Maybe you didn't even notice they were tight before. Amazing. We love that. And again, you can use this breath technique whenever you need to, whenever you want to. And if you're not feeling totally relaxed yet, keep doing it. Keep doing it until you start to feel a lot more relaxed, a lot less anxious, a lot less whatever you're feeling, and just more in a place of being calm and being comfortable and relaxed. So now that we did some lovely breath work together, let's go ahead and dive into the goodies of this episode, shall we? So something that I have been hearing and seeing a lot lately is this state of just kind of being like stuck. Like, I know I want to do something else. I know I want to try something new, but I have no idea what. And I don't even know where to start because, again, I don't even know what. And this is something that I'm seeing coming up a lot. And it's because as a collective, we're really in this transition period of life in general. So a lot of us are feeling this urge, this desire to do something more, and maybe even to step into their dharma or try to figure out why they're here, what their purpose is, what's the meaning of life. And I'm going to tell you right now that is different for everyone, what the dharma is, because we're all so unique and we're all so amazing. And we all are like this unique fingerprint on the world, and we all can bring something that's so unique because it's our perspective based on the things we went through and how we perceive the things we went through and how we have grown through it. So finding out what your dharma is and your purpose, obviously it's so fulfilling to know what that is, but I also just want to put it out there that there's no one else that is going to give you that answer, because it's your life, it's your purpose, it's your dharma. And if you're, following someone else or copying what they're doing, you're kind of going down their path and, trying to emulate what they're doing, but their life's purpose isn't your life's purpose. And I just want to take a moment to just point that out, because sometimes we feel like, everyone around me feels, or they're maybe they feel this way, but they're looking and acting as if they're like so comfortable and confident and they know what they're doing and they know who they are and they love what they do. And I'm over here like, I don't know what it is I'm supposed to be doing on this earth. And if you're in that place, I want to just congratulate you for being in that place to begin with, because you can't change something that you're not aware is happening. So if you had never had the thought of, hey, something needs to change, I'm not like totally loving what's going on right now, if that thought never occurred, change would never have occurred because you would have just kept doing what you were doing. And I think everyone underplays the significance of acknowledgement, of just being aware of things. And, you know, everyone's like, well, I have to take action. And no, you don't always have to take action. You know, like sometimes it's just about recognizing something within yourself that you want to grow and change from, and then taking action afterwards. It's not always an action step. In fact, if you don't know exactly what you want to do with your life or where you're going, or you know that something needs to give, something needs to change, but you don't know what steps to do, the first step I'm going to tell you is to just get curious. Get curious. Ask yourself, okay, why? Why am I feeling this way? What exactly do I want to change? What is it that I'm feeling I don't want to be doing anymore? And not in a way of like, okay, now let's figure out how you can. No, like just get curious and figure out exactly what in your life is making you feel stagnant and just become aware of it. That's it. No action needs to be taken besides asking yourself questions, besides getting curious with yourself and just figuring out exactly where in your life you're feeling stuck. And that's the big thing that I could give to someone who's feeling stuck is don't focus so much on doing, just focus on like getting in touch with yourself and being like, okay, let's see what I'm unhappy with. Because a lot of times with this type of stuff, you know, people are just like, oh, I feel unhappy, so something's got to give. And then they're changing all these different things. So maybe they're like trying a new diet or changing friendships or going to different places or trying out new activities. But if you're not taking the time to like pinpoint what it is, you could be just kind of like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks and being totally off. So just for example, let's say like in your life, you're feeling kind of bored with the things that you do after work, but maybe you didn't take the time to investigate that. So all you're feeling is like, something's just like, I'm bored, or like just, I'm not inspired. So then maybe you start going out to eat at different restaurants instead of cooking at home. But like, that's not what you want because it's not actually something for you to do, which is what the root is of it. Or maybe you start doing more activities with other people, but that's not fulfilling for you because it's not the root of it. You want to do something for yourself. So it's kind of like that notion of, yes, taking action is very important. I'm not going to say it's not important, but taking inspired action, taking conscious action, taking action with a purpose, action with direction is going to get you so much farther than just taking action in general. So what I'm here to tell you is that the best way to move forward, whether you're stuck, whether you feel like you have been grinding and you're hustling and just like things are not coming to fruition for you, if you feel like something needs to change, but you don't know what, I'm here to tell you that the way to speed up is actually to slow the fuck down. Just slow the fuck down. And I know that might be hard for some people. There's a lot of people in my life that live life this way, where it's, you have to stay busy, busy, busy for the fear of what will happen or what's going to catch up to you when you slow down. And I've heard this before, and I've had people tell me like, oh, I can't slow down because I'm afraid of what's going to catch up with me. I don't know who I am if I'm not doing all of these things. I don't like who I am. And, this causes people to want to run. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice by staying busy and by ignoring the parts of you that are asking for attention. The thought that I had on the toilet today was this. So when I was thinking about this, of like how people are running from themselves essentially by staying busy and always doing something, the thought that I had was like the analogy of, or this image of a dog running from its own tail. So say this dog sees that it has a tail behind it that's wagging and doesn't know why, and it scares it. It doesn't know why it's doing that. So the dog decides to run. So the dog's running, just facing forward, refusing to slow down and to look back behind it. But guess what? The tail is still on the dog. That tail is coming with the dog regardless, whether the dog is sprinting, regardless if the dog is sleeping. Like, the tail is always there, and you can't outrun a part of who you are. And while the parts of us that we feel like we're running away from aren't physical in that nature, like we don't have a big lump on our back or a tail behind us that is holding all of the things that we're afraid of feeling, of the traumas of our past, of the regrets or the guilts or whatever you feel like you need to run from, of the pain from your childhood, the pain from your relationships, the pain of whatever you're holding within. But you need to understand that it's a part of you. And the only way the pain is not going to hurt, the pain is not going to scare you, is to face it. So like a dog running from your own tail, you can keep running and staying busy, but you're going to get burnt out. And I can promise you that if you start running for too long, your body will start giving you signs of, hey, we need to slow down. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to release this. And your body is not doing this of a place from like, fuck you, we're going to do this now. No, it's like, you can do this. You can release this. You can heal it. Because the only way that you can stop being afraid of things of your past is to face it and to just let it go, to feel it and to release it. Because what's happening is we're storing all of these things in our bodies and we're not even aware of it. And it's causing us different pains. It's causing us different diseases sometimes. It's causing all sorts of different things within our bodies. And then we decide to like ignore it instead of just taking the time to slow down and be like, I'm willing to feel this momentarily, to allow it to come up and out so I don't have to deal with this anymore. So I don't have to feel like I need to run anymore. So you can integrate all the parts of who you are, like a dog, recognizing that the tail is a part of them. And yeah, it may wag. And yeah, sometimes it'll hit things and maybe it hurts, but it's a part of who they are. And if they take the time to stop running away from their tail and understanding like, hey, I can control this tail. I can tell this tail when to wag. I can tell this tail when to stop wagging. I can tell this tail to do whatever, cover the butthole. I don't know. Whatever else dog tails do besides wagging. I'm not quite sure, but this is what I'm kind of getting at, is like, if you take the time to slow down and address the things that you've been running from because you're afraid, you can begin to control it. You can begin to own it. You can begin to be the one to be like, I'm choosing to feel this way about this situation, instead of having the situation telling you how you're going to feel about it. And when we continue to run and run and run, we're allowing the fears and the emotions of something that doesn't exist anymore to control us in the present moment. We're allowing the past to tell us how to feel in the present. And that's just wild, because the past doesn't exist. The past cannot hurt you. The past cannot do anything to you. You are so safe in the present moment from things of the past that you don't have to run from them anymore. And I know that allowing yourself to think about things, to feel things that have happened in the past is challenging, daunting, scary. But I'm telling you from experience, not only from myself, but from my clients and watching other people go through it, it's temporary. when you really truly allow yourself to feel the emotions and let them come out, and not in a way that's like taking over you, but just like being like, okay, I'm consciously going to let this thing come up, tell me what it needs to tell me. And when I say this, like when emotions come up, thoughts come up with them as well. And when these thoughts come up, this is what the emotion's trying to tell you to feel and to work through. So for example, I'll just make up an example right now because I feel like an example is due at this time. So let's say that there's something in my past about past relationships getting cheated on, for example. And let's say that I don't want to face the feeling of that. And, you know, because the feeling of getting cheated on is really shitty and it makes me feel really terrible about myself, and that I'm like not worthy and I'm not lovable and that I just like can never do anything good enough. And that's why it happened. And if I refuse to take time to look at that and I'm running, what's going to happen is I'm going to be telling myself these stories subconsciously all the time. And it's going to be showing up in so many different aspects of my life, relationships, work, with money, with how I obviously view myself, but like it's going to show up in little bits and pieces everywhere. And that story is going to continue repeating itself in future relationships. And that's why a lot of times people are like, I'm always in relationships with these shitty people, or like, I always get cheated on, or I always like find the same type of broken dude, or like, you know what I mean? Like you're going to keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it because you're running from it. But if you take the time to sit with it and to be like, okay, I am feeling all of these things about myself and I'm just going to let them come up and I'm going to cry it out. And like, I'm really upset that this happened to me, and like, fuck this person. How could they do this to me? And like, let it all come out. Almost like, just like kind of like word vomit ish. I used to like really, really love journaling, especially when it came to this type of things, to just like write it out, just to let it all out. And like, you can burn the page later and no one will ever be able to read it. Like just write it all out and just let it out. Even like the mean, fucked up shit that you would say about yourself, like get it out of your system, whether it's writing or something that I've begun doing, which is just talking it out, because it comes out a lot quicker. Talking is a lot quicker than my hand can write on paper. And I think it's just like extremely cathartic to just say the shit that you've been like secretly telling yourself for far too long, to just like let it all out, let it go. And then like once it comes out, you start to feel kind of like not empty, but like you're just kind of like floating in like the space. And when you start to feel like you're not as angry or afraid, it's starting to wean a little bit, then you can start replacing it with like nicer things. And I know it might be hard at first to like be like, I love myself and, you know, I didn't deserve that. I'm worthy of having really good, healthy relationships. I'm worthy of having people in my life that make me feel love. I'm worthy of having good things happen to me. And maybe you aren't at that point yet where you can say those things without it feeling like, it's kind of like a lie. So if you're not at that point yet, I would say they're like transition or happening affirmations. I don't really know what to call it, but like, I'm going to allow myself to feel worthy. I'm going to allow myself to be in good relationships. I'm going to start looking at myself in a different way. So even though you're not saying it is happening right at this moment, you're at least putting it out there that like it's in progress. The wheels are moving. Everything's moving towards this, to where you're going to start loving yourself a lot more than you were in the past. And if you're not ready to tell yourself that you love all parts of yourself and you are worthy and that you deserve better, then start with the transition stages. Start just saying like, I'm working on loving myself. I'm working on feeling worthy. I'm working on fostering healthy relationships in my life, because regardless of where you are on that spectrum, you're working on it. And that's not a lie, because you're aware of it now. You're doing the work. So even if you're at stage 1, you're technically working on it. So it's not a lie. And you can tell yourself these affirmations without feeling like, it's not true. Like you can start owning it and living it and just incorporating it into your life. So that's why I think slowing down is so pivotal, because you're allowing yourself to heal parts of you that you may have been running from. And when you do that, you create new opportunities for yourself, because you're ending old cycles by no longer holding on to the things that were keeping you in those cycles. So then you have opportunities for things to be different. You have the perspective to choose differently. You have the knowledge now to see things in a different light and to go about things in a different way. So not only that, which is like a huge thing about slowing down, is like becoming more comfortable with who you are after you do the work of just sitting with yourself and letting things come up and letting them come out, because what's coming through you is moving through you. Like what's coming up is going. So what's coming is going. And if you keep pushing it down, you know, this emotion still has a ticket to get the hell out of your body. They're just going to keep hounding you to like take that ride out of your body. So just remember, like, what's coming is going. And just because it's coming up doesn't mean you're going to be living and stuck in it forever, especially if you do it from the like intentional way of being like, I'm going to feel this to release it. I'm going to ask my body to release it, to tell me what it needs me to learn from this so we can let it go. And I think doing that is so helpful, especially for me. I've noticed that if I'm intentionally sitting down with myself to be like, okay, I'm feeling like icky. I'm feeling like not myself. I'm feeling annoyed or whatever it is, to intentionally sit down and be like, okay, body, like, let's release this. Like, I'm going to start breathing. And with each exhale, I'm going to start letting this out. And I want this to come up, and I want the thoughts to come in of what exactly it is I'm feeling. And then I'm going to start telling myself or asking myself, okay, why am I feeling this way? And I'm just allowing my body to bring it up. So then I can look at it from like a third party perspective. So I'm going into it knowing that I'm bringing it up, not for me to re-experience, but for me to like look at it from an outside perspective. So almost as if like your friend called you to say like, I need help with this thing I'm going through. It's the same thing you're doing with yourself. You're sitting down and being like, okay, I'm going to work through this. I'm going to look at it and observe it and ask questions about it, and not just like get immediately sucked back into it. But I want to observe it and to bring it out and to let it go and to learn what needs to be learned and gather the perspective that's being earned from growing through this. So that was obviously just a channel that happened because I blanked out at the end of it. So I hope you enjoyed what I said there. So allowing yourself to slow down like that, to no longer be in a place of fear, but like in a place of acceptance. You're allowing yourself to get clear on what it is that you want, because you're removing these old thoughts, these old beliefs out of your system. And now you have clarity. You have clarity on the situation of like, okay, this is what I want. Okay, I learned that this I don't want. So a lot of times we can learn what we want from the things that we don't like, that we don't want. But the thing is, if we don't release and move through the moments that we had that taught us things we don't like, we don't want, we're just going to keep repeating it until we can like clearly be like, I deserve better. I deserve this. I deserve that. I am worthy of this. I'm worthy of that. I love myself enough to allow good things like this to come into my life. And if you're someone who's always grinding or feeling like you have to stay busy because you're afraid of what's going to happen when you stop, or maybe you're like in this place of purgatory where it's like you're in this in-between phase of like, I'm no longer who I used to be, but I'm not who I want to be yet. And girl, let me tell you, I have been in that place for months. 4 months now, I've been in this place of like purgatory of it's like, I want to do something and I don't know exactly what. And I'm going to say for a while, I was kind of just throwing some spaghetti on the wall and seeing what was sticking. And I'm telling you, by slowing down, that's where all the answers lie. The answers lie within. And if you're just continuously doing things to get the external world to give you an answer, you're never going to get it. You're never going to get it. You have to slow down and start asking yourself questions and start allowing yourself to feel. And even if you're not running from anything, like I'm not running from anything at this point in my life, but sometimes I feel like I'm in this in-between purgatory stage. And if you're in that stage as well, where it's like, no, you know, life is pretty good. I don't feel like I'm running from anything. And it's not that like things need to change immediately for me to be happy. Like I'm pretty happy. It's just like, I feel like I could be doing more. Like I get it because I've been in that stage for like a year now. And slowing down is really what sped me up. Slowing down and being like, okay, what is the feeling that I want to have? Like, what's the feeling that I'm not feeling currently all the time that I want to be feeling all the time? And for me, it was the sense of like teaching, the sense of helping, the sense of creating and fostering a community. It was the feeling of that, the feeling of just helping. Like that's when I slowed down and I started looking within at the things that I really wanted to feel fulfilled. That's what I noticed, is that I wanted this feeling of just like my cup was overflowing and it was positively affecting everyone else around me. Like that's the feeling, like of just having so much abundance in every aspect of my life, whether it's money, whether it's love, whether it's confidence, whether it's just friendship, like in every aspect of my life. That's the feeling that I was like, that's what I want to start working towards. It's the feeling of an overflow of abundance that I can just help everyone I come in contact with. So when I, finally slowed down, because at first I was kind of on the right track. So I had cosmic crow healing that I was doing the Reiki therapies and the coaching, and I still offer all of that. But that's what I was like really focusing on. And what I was focusing on then was more of like, I want to stop working in the corporate world. I wanted to get out of my 9-to-5, which your girl is still in her 9-to-5, but that was like the goal of Cosmic Crow Healing, which I realize has taught me so much. That business has taught me so much. But when I slowed down, because I was still in this, like, I felt like I was just not there yet. I felt like there was still more. And when I was like, okay, I've been, I started this new thing, but it's not clicking in the way that I had hoped. I took the time to slow down instead of like, keep pushing, keep grinding. Like, no, this business is going to be it. Like I felt within me that something had to change and I didn't know what. So I took the time to slow down and to be like, okay, what is it that having a business like this, what is the end goal for me that's not monetary? Like, what's the feeling that I want to have at the end of this? And that's when I realized the feeling I want to have at the end of this is just an overflowing cup that's literally lighting up and helping fill the cups of those around me. And then when I finally got to that golden nugget deep within, I was able to be like, okay, so what can I do now that's going to help me feel that way, even though I don't have the business at this moment that's allowing me to quit my 9-to-5? And that's where the podcast came in, because I realized the overflowing cup, the place I was already experiencing it in my day-to-day was in the conversations I was having with people at the end of my Reiki sessions. So I followed that. I noticed what part of my life was already giving me a little taste of that feeling, because you wouldn't desire it more if you didn't already know it existed. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't desire more love if you didn't know love existed. You wouldn't desire more connection if you didn't know connection existed. So there's some part of your life that already has a little bit of the thing that you truly desire, that thing that's truly motivating you to move forward. So for me, it was that. So then voila, this is how this podcast happened. I'm overflowing my cup to flow into the cups of those who are listening. And that's why it feels so good. And I'm really enjoying it so far. But that's just like a little example of what I've gone through, and to give you kind of an example of how you could do this as well. If you are feeling kind of in that stuck state and you have been trying things and it's like, it kind of feels good, but it's like not really that fulfilling. Or maybe you haven't really tried anything yet, like that's even better. But just like take a moment to ask yourself, like, what's the actual feeling? So not the goal. So not like, oh, I want to have a business, or I want to replace my income, or I want to make more money, or like, those are all things. And I'm not asking you for what thing do you want. I'm asking, what emotion do you want? What do you want to feel? So like, what does having your income replaced feel like? What does having a lot of money provide for you? What does having stable relationships provide for you? What does having a loving partnership provide for you emotionally? And then that's where you want to start from, not from like, okay, what do I want? Like, what do I physically, tangibly want in this life? Like, no, let's start with, what do you want to feel in this life? That's the big question. What do you want to feel in this life? And where are you already feeling it? Because again, you wouldn't desire something you didn't know existed. So somewhere in your life, you have felt what you are desiring, and you can feel it again. And if you just start focusing on it and doing more of what gives you that feeling, that's when everything else is going to start falling into place. That's when the money is going to start to come. That's when the friendships are going to start to come. That's when the relationship's going to start to come. Like, you have to take aligned action in doing something that makes you feel that way. So like, I could have just continued going with Cosmic Crow Healing and doing these one-on-one individual sessions and like pushing that. But when I really looked at it, doing the sessions and doing the coaching wasn't giving me that overflowing cup feeling. It was more so the conversations at the end. And I wanted to be able to do it with more than one person every 2 hours. I wanted to be able to have when I saw my cup overflowing, it wasn't just directly into one other person. It was into a bunch of other little cups around me. So I was there. I was on the right track. It's just, I could have kept focusing on the Reiki aspect and not going like this digital route. And I don't think it would have fulfilled me quite as much. And that's why I'm saying slow down. And it's also okay to also like change direction on things that you were doing prior. It doesn't mean you failed. In fact, you're probably learning so much from whatever you're doing now that it's giving you the clarity. Again, I don't want to do this because I want to do this. And I think we forget how important like knowing you don't want to do something or you don't want to have something is, because it gives you clarity on what it is you do want. So you can start focusing on that and doing more of the things that you do want to do. So feeling stuck, I think, is a great place to be, because it's in these moments that you realize or you acknowledge that something needs to change. And that is absolutely key. You cannot change something that you are not aware of. You cannot do something different if you don't realize you want to do something different. Feeling stuck and acknowledging it, I think, is the most pivotal and most important part about change, about growth, because it gives you the opportunity to like sit back with yourself and be like, okay, we're feeling stuck. What is it? And you're acknowledging there's something in your life that needs to give. Whether you know what it is right away or not, that's like the huge first step, is just acknowledgement. And I've been saying this a lot, but I'm gonna keep saying it. Like, asking questions and being curious about yourself is the number one way to move forward with all aspects of your life. And if you don't know exactly what you want to change or work towards, again, just take a minute and focus on the why. Why do you want something different? Like, what's the feeling that it evokes for you? Or if you do have a desire for a thing, so maybe you don't have a feeling at first, but you're like, I want to have a business. I want to have $1 million. I want to have a healthy relationship. Okay, like, great. Now you know what, but let's focus on the why. What does it give you? Because sometimes the universe is going to have more beautiful plans and things in store for you than you could plan for yourself. So by being more focused on the energy and the feelings of what something's going to give you, it allows the universe to bring surprises, to bring something better than you could have even imagined. And I'm sure you've heard stories of other people saying that, like, when something finally came into fruition, it was better than they could have ever imagined. It was more magical than they could have imagined. And that's because they're letting go of the expectation of something needs to be this exact way to make me feel fulfilled, versus I just want to feel fulfilled. And I don't really care how that looks as long as I feel fulfilled. And one other thought that I had, this was not a toilet thought. This one was a bed thought that I had. But so slowing down is like an artist with colored pencils. And we all know that colored pencils over time get dull and they don't stay as sharp. And the crispness of that colored pencil becomes a lot like fatter and not as like crisp. I don't have another word, but not as crisp. And, you know, what happens when the pencils start getting used is they start getting more dull and more dull. And if you've ever used a colored pencil so much without sharpening it, sometimes it gets to the point where it like starts cutting the paper that you're working on. And I think this is such a beautiful analogy too for that whole like running and staying constantly busy thing, is that, you know, your pencil, your energy, your body is getting more dull and more dull and more dull. And you could take the time to slow down, to resharpen your pencil, to allow your body to regenerate, to allow your mind to get clear and sharp again. But maybe you don't. Maybe you just keep going forward with your artwork because you're like, I'm going to finish this picture. I'm going to finish this drawing. And you keep going and your pencil starts getting so low that it starts cutting the paper at the end. You know, the points of burnout in our lives, or maybe injury or illness, because this is what our body does. It gives us hints along the way to slow down. And if you ignore it, then something's going to happen in your life that forces you to take a break, whether it's an injury or an illness or whatever. And I think if we look at it like this way, of an artist with their colored pencils, like, we are the artists and our human bodies are the colored pencils, and we are creating a beautiful image. And if we take the time while we're drawing to just stop for like a minute to sharpen our pencils, so then we can get back to the drawing with that like crisp, beautiful colored pencil, as opposed to letting it get duller and duller and maybe even rip the paper later on, like, we can enjoy the artwork a lot more because the pencil's flowing a lot smoother on the paper and everything's looking really cohesive, as opposed to just rushing through and getting it done and then looking at your artwork and seeing how it's not cohesive and how it like was so beautiful at one point and then now there's like rips and holes and tears in the paper. Like, if we just slow down and sharpen the pencil, then we can enjoy the whole drawing process, and we can actually like enjoy what it looks like when it's done, when we, you know, created and manifested whatever it is we were working on. So take the time to sharpen the pencil. And when you look back at what you've been working on, you'll be proud of it. And you're not going to be upset that you ended up fizzling out or it didn't come out as good as you hoped if you take the time to just sharpen your pencil. So slow down. There is no rush. The path that you're on is your path. It's your journey. It's no one else's. There's no time frame. There's no deadlines. There's no stopwatch. There's none of that. It's your journey. It's your drawing. It's your artwork that you're creating. And there's no one to tell you that you have to get it done in a certain amount of time. And there's no one else who's going to tell you how to do it either. because it's your artwork. You wouldn't, no one would go up to, he's not alive, but no one would go up to Van Gogh and be like, oh, you have to start painting this way. Like, no, like he created his beautiful artwork because that's what he was doing. You know what I mean? Like he was following what felt really good for him. And I'm sure that he took the time to like put more paint on his paintbrushes, you know? So just, you know, don't compare yourself to others because you're not living your life for others. Like others cannot live your life. You are the only one who can live your life. You are the only one who can experience the things that happen to you. You are the only one that can feel the things that are going on. You know what I mean? Like live your journey, live your life, and don't worry or compare yourself to what others are doing because that's their journey and that's their life. And you might not even like it, honestly. If you were to step into someone else's shoes like that, you might not even like it. So just, you know, don't compare yourself to others because you're beautiful and magical the way that you are. And you're exactly how you were meant to be. And you're exactly where you were meant to be. And what is for you will not pass you by. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. I realize it's a little bit longer. Your girl was just chit-chatting today. If you did enjoy this episode, like hit me up on the social medias, whether it's Instagram or Facebook. I want to hear about like your experience with the podcast. I want to hear about your aha moments. Send me any topics or any questions you have or anything that like you know a little bit about, but you want to know more about. Like I would love to hear this. And I also would love to just have conversations about things, especially things I've talked about on the podcast. If it's, you know, giving you some like light bulb moments or whatever it is, like, you know, reach out. I'd love to chat and I'd love to share. And if you have questions about myself and my personal experiences, I'm an open book. I'll absolutely share them. You just, you know, you got to ask. And if no one has told you this today, I am proud of you. You are doing amazing, sweetie. And I love you. I love you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next one.